Hi everyone, Quiveen here from the comfort of my kitchen. In today's video, we are going to take a look at a couple of famous stars. In the previous video, we were looking at stars that appear to be moving quickly. From the countryside, one of them is visible with the naked eye, 61 Cygni there, that very faint star just at the tip of the mouse cursor, that is a star that's moving quickly through space. If you'd like to learn more about that phenomenon, then you can check out my previous video. But Barnard Star, which was the last star that I mentioned in that video, it has been mentioned in various works of fiction, including the Hitch-hikers Guide to the Galaxy. So this star is interesting because it's moving through the sky very quickly in a different way to the other stars. Because it was of interest initially to scientists, it became, a little famous, and that got picked up on by the science fiction community, which then led it to be featured in various works of fiction. And this is something that tends to happen. If there is something interesting about a star, or if something's discovered about a star, then it'll often end up, if it's been of interest to the scientific community, then it could end up being used in a work of fiction, in science fiction as well. So there are various stars out there that are famous in science for one reason, and then also featured in science fiction. So Epsilon Erinus, or Eridanus here, is a star in the constellation Eridanus, and it is one of the stars that's featured in Star Trek. It was posited, I believe, as one of the stars that Vulcan, the planet that Spock and the Vulcans are from, could have been orbiting around. So this is a star that's visible to the naked eye at the right time of year. It is the wrong time of year at the moment. I mentioned in a previous video, in a video about exoplanets, or particularly about the planet Vulcan, the star 40 Eridani. There we go, or Eridanus. So this is that star 40 Eridanus. This is the star that was mentioned as having the planet Vulcan orbiting around it, and then believed to actually have a planet around it for a while. That has since been refuted. So it was believed that there was a planet orbiting that star, but there's actually not. I have a whole video about that if you'd like to check it out and learn more about it as well. Sirius is a particularly famous star because it's so bright in the sky, as is Betelgeuse, and of course there's an association with the movie there as well. So these stars, because they're so bright, they've been very well known for a very long time. So even in early works of science fiction, these stars would often be mentioned because they're so visible to the naked eye, and they're considered interesting. Some of them are just considered big and bright, but they are interesting stars, especially if you're just looking with the naked eye. A particularly famous star that's featured in science fiction quite a lot is Proxima Centauri, or Alpha Centauri. So this is the closest star to the Earth. So Rigel Kentaurus is there, and we are looking for a star in the constellation of the Centaur, Centaurus, or Kentaurus. When it's spelled with a K, I tend to pronounce it Kentaurus. If there's a C, maybe I'll pronounce it the other way. But in Greek, it was Kentaurus originally. So we're looking for Proxima Centauri. Proxima Centauri is a more informal name. So there it is. It does indeed come up, Proxima Centauri. So it's way out here. And it is a double star. There's two stars going on here. And it is the closest star to our sun. You can see here it's 4.24 light years away. So given that this is the closest star to us in our solar system, it's often considered the the first target when people are leaving the Earth in science fiction. It's been featured in some version of civilization, gets you to build your civilization on another world, Alpha Centauri, rather than here on Earth, using various scientific, sci-fi technology to make it work. There are a few stars that have been mentioned in video games. Up in Ursa, one of the stars in the constellation Ursa Major was used as the setting for the second Mass Effect video game. If I can find it, it should be up there. There we go. So I'm not sure exactly which star. I didn't play the video game myself, but it is one of the stars in Ursa Major. It is a real star. That's kind of the important thing. Real stars do get used in fiction once they're interesting enough, once people learn about them, or sometimes just because they have cool names. Stars like Achernar, for example, or Antares even. Just because their names are interesting and sound good, that's one of the main, or that is a concern of authors, and fantasy and sci-fi authors in particular, having cool names is an important thing. So even though stars might be referenced in fiction that are real, sometimes they are renamed to make them sound a little bit cooler, to sound a little bit more sci-fi. So for example, Canopus here, I don't know if Canopus itself is mentioned directly, but Canopus is the star around which the planet Dune was supposed to orbit in the books, at least. I don't know if that's referenced in the movies, but Canopus is a bright star. We don't get to see it here. You can see over here, this object never rises. So this is a southern hemisphere star. And that's true for a couple of the other stars that are in Dune as well. Again, I don't know if they're directly mentioned, but the ones that I have found for being the stars of the planets are down in this region of space. So Dune orbiting that planet, or orbiting this star over here, if we take a look at the distance, 309.15 plus or minus 15 light years away. So we don't know it very exactly. At 15 light years, out of 309, it's not too bad. But that is roughly how far away this is. Whereas if we look for delta pavonas, so down here we've got our Greek letters, there's delta pav, there we go, way over here in the Peacock. I believe that's the Peacock star, and Pavonas is the constellation of the Peacock. So there they are, with the Magellanic Cloud behind them in the background. The large and small Magellanic Cloud are dwarf galaxies orbiting the Milky Way, so they're not actually in between. This star is 19.9 plus or minus 2 light years away, so we know this a lot more accurately, close to 20 light years away. This is close to 20 light years away, that's over 300, give or take 15 light years. So even though they look quite close together in the sky, they're pretty far apart in space, and even this distance in the sky, that's pretty far. Delta Pavonis was supposed to be the home world of Paul Atreides in the Dune series of books, and of course now movies. So they're two stars that feature in that series of books, and you can see them with the naked eye. They are absolutely visible if you're in the southern hemisphere, which of course I am not, at least not at the moment, so I wouldn't be able to see those stars myself. So those are some of the major stars that feature in science fiction. So Barnard Star is an interesting one. Alpha Centauri, of course, is a very popular choice, or Proximus Centauri, because of how close it is to the Earth. It is the closest star to us. The star has also featured in fiction, and let's see if I can, there we go, Wolf 359. I think that Wolf 359 might be, yes, so it's coming up here as a custom object. It is a star that exists. It's also got a Gliese designation, which isn't showing up here, but basically, although this star does exist, it's not part of Stellarium generally, but it is in the Simbad database, and that has this information. So Stellarium is able to drop it in for me, essentially. This is Wolf 359. It doesn't have its distance listed here, but it is the third closest star to us. Barnard Star, then, the second closest star to us, is about 6 light years away, with Proximus Centauri being about 4 and a bit. And that is featured in, I believe, Star Trek, as well as the location of a battle, which was said to have happened close to Earth, and indeed that's about as close as Earth as you can get outside of our solar system, because of course the sun is a star. So of course that's featured in lots of works of fiction, things like Sunshine, for example, and fictional books. In the Iron Giant book, the Iron Giant lay down on the sun to defeat a dragon, which I found a very interesting difference from the movie, though that is probably the most common star to be featured in fiction, the sun, of course, being a lot more immediate to us, and featured in, various other types of fiction as well, not just science fiction. Whereas if you're talking about other planets, life on other planets, then you're probably looking at science fiction. And any star that, has a name and that you can see clearly with your eyes has probably featured in fiction to some degree. Rigel, supposedly the home of the Rigelians, like Kang and Kodos from The Simpsons. Other stars that are not visible to the naked eye, or difficult to see with the naked eye, like Alpha Centauri, like Barnard Star, they've probably featured in science fiction because there is something scientifically interesting about them, because the science community has gotten interested in them, and that's bled over into the science fiction community. Of course, there's a bit of overlap. Some science fiction authors are astronomers and scientists themselves as well. So that is just I guess, a whirlwind tour through some of the stars that feature in science fiction, some of the famous and interesting ones that I'm aware of. At least there's loads more. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like it and subscribe to this YouTube channel if you'd like to see the next one. As I mentioned in my previous video, you can also come along to the Friary in Cork if you're around to check out a show like this live and in person on the 23rd of this month at about 7:30 if you'd like to come along to that. If you would like to read any of this information, you can also check that out on my website, queevinscontent.ie. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully I will see you next time.